Now let's create the back fin for our wing. So we'll do this in a similar way. Let's go over here to this front view, which is our side again. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in just a rectangle. All right. And let's turn on rounding. And I'm going to decrease the radius a little bit. All right. Let's take down some of the width and height value here. I'm going to leave it at the center though. Let's take that radius down a little bit more. Okay, let's go ahead and make that editable. Access the points. I'm going to take these front points and move them way out front. And then I want to add another point in the center here. And I'll move that back in. Okay. And I want it to be nice and soft, so we'll go ahead and change the interpolation. For these points, the back, I'll go ahead and manipulate those a little bit. Just moving them around. Now let's go ahead and add some thickness to it. Okay, so we'll go into our extrude NURBS. And it's actually going in the right direction, so maybe just increase that a little bit. Give it a little bit more thickness. Let's also get a subdivision, and on the caps, let's add those fillet caps. Make it a little bit more rounded, so we'll add some steps. Maybe increase the radius a little bit so we get something like that. Now I think that point is still not quite soft enough, so we'll go ahead and scale that up a little bit. Okay, you can also take your intermediate points and just change that to natural. I'll give you a little bit more of a natural curve there. Okay, now I want to taper this a little bit, so let's go ahead and grab our taper. Now if we drop it in here and try to work it on the spline, let's go ahead and just increase this to fit with the geometry that we have here. So what I want to do is go ahead and drop this at the same level as our extrude. So I'll do a group, drop the taper in there. Okay, let's go ahead and just match this up a little bit better. And I'm going to turn off the curvature. Okay, so I want to kind of taper this down a bit. Now let's take this null and sort of move it back here. And up into position. I'm going to take my extrude NURBS and under the object, take the movement down a little bit. Okay, take this whole thing, drop it down, make it a bit larger, rotate it just to get it in position here, and take that taper off a little bit. Okay, so you get something like that. So if you want to keep some of your geometry at the center before, and then go ahead and add your deformers to that, and then you can move it into position. You can do it that way too, rather than trying to take your deformers over to match up with your geometry after the fact. Okay, now we also might want to add a little bit of a bend to it. So if you want to, you could add a bend or a lattice to that as well. So we have time here. Let's go ahead, bend that a little bit more. And then let's say we want to sort of bend it over. We can go ahead, turn that off, and that'll give us this geometry. Again, we can do the same thing that we did before. Just take that geometry and connect it. Drop it into a connect. Make that editable. And now let's say we want to add an FFD to that. If you actually select this, and let's say go to FFD and you hold down Shift, it'll drop it underneath already. So it's already parented to that. Then we can go ahead and put it in position here, give it a little bit more size so that we can manipulate the whole fin here. Okay, and I do want to give it a few more divisions. All right. So then I'll kind of take this and the next row and the next row, and if you want to kind of rotate it over and move it, you can do that too. Kind of rotate this around and pull it down. All right. So that's how we can make this sort of fin at the back. So in the next lesson, let's actually build the fan here for the interior of this wing. So we can build that rim, and then we'll go on to build the fan blades. So we'll go ahead and do that next.